Now imagine with the push for EVs going on, car prices are also expected to rise between another 5 to 20% come next year. And as the cost of raw materials increases, so will the price of these cars. You also have to take in consideration the upsurge in interest rates that has been going on since the pandemic started. Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of Parts Talk. Thank you for joining me. I appreciate each and every one of you. Today we're going to be discussing again electric vehicles. So I want you to watch this video if ever you're thinking about purchasing that next EV. We're going to be presenting two videos and then we're going to go right into it. And we're going to be discussing some of the problems that you, the ordinary consumer, will face if you ever think about getting that EV which the various governments are mandating us to do. Let's get right into it.
I just bought the $35,000 Tesla Model 3 without ever having seen it and without ever having driven one before. The standard range Model 3 begins at their promised price of $35,000. If you increase your budget just a modest $2,000, you'll get an extra 20 miles of range, a slightly higher top speed, power-adjusted seats, premium interior, and upgraded audio. If you get any other color besides black, it'll cost you up to $2,500 more if you want red, so we're going with black today. Next, they give you the option to upgrade to 19-inch wheels for an extra $1,500. That's not gonna happen. Now we have the choice of interior color, either black or white, but white is an extra $1,000 and I would be worried about getting that dirty, so black it is. They also offer full self-driving for an extra $5,000. This includes numbing your car and a few other technologically amazing feats. But for $5,000, I think I could just do that myself.
So basically, when all those costs were added up, you're looking at $47,000 plus fees, taxes, and other PDI and administration costs depending on which state or country you reside in. And if you live anywhere outside of the United States, then you have tariffs and duties and taxes and other government implemented fees that are part of the regulations as set up by those jurisdictions. Now imagine with the push for EVs going on, car prices are also expected to rise between another 5 to 20% come next year. And as the cost of raw materials increases, so will the price of these cars. You also have to take in consideration the upsurge in interest rates that has been going on since the pandemic started in an effort to curb inflation. So based on my experience, car prices are always increasing every year. Plus the cost of raw materials, because it takes a considerable amount of materials in order to manufacture some of these parts for these electric vehicles. Politicians don't understand exactly what takes place behind the scenes in the manufacturing process. They see something, they want something in order to jump on the bandwagon to say, yes, we're on the right path to do something for the environment. So basically, the more EVs that are coming out on the market will be pricing more and more of the average consumer out of the price range of affordability of a new car. We will have to be waiting another 10 to 15 years for some of these cars to be trickling down into the hands of the used market dealers. Another disadvantage you have to look at while he's going ahead and pricing out the option for this particular EV that he's purchasing, the price is the price on the website. There's no haggling, there's no middleman, there's no dealership to negotiate with. And this is going to be one of the biggest disadvantages with the new system coming in place of forcing customers to be purchasing everything online. There is no Toyota-thon, there is no Ford employee price promotion, there are no other marketing incentives that will be going on. Once you go onto the website, that's it. So the manufacturers will have more to say in this particular scenario. And remember, the dealership is also there to build a network between you, the staff, the service department, the parts department, and also warranty and the manufacturers. So much for CSI, which stands for the Customer Service Index, customer retention, and to building customer relationship. Let's get into the next video.
I just heard the craziest story that California wants to make it so by 2035 only EV vehicles are sold. There's a few problems with that. First, EV vehicles are expensive, so what are lower income families going to do when you force them to buy these expensive vehicles? None of them will be able to come close, especially with the battery costs of EV vehicles as they stand, even as production continues. As global demand increases, you think it's going to get cheaper, it's going to get more expensive. This is a limited supply we're talking about of lithium batteries, and there's not enough excavation going on to be able to cover that. Secondly, they made that decision in 2022. The vehicles in California and it makes sense why they want to do it because Tesla started there back in 2012. But 10 years later,
yeah, we can thank the governor of California for this. As I said, sometimes they go ahead and they make decisions without the necessary research and development and the data that is available to them. And now, with the cost of electricity going up, it is costing consumers more to charge their cars. And sooner or later, you're going to have to be paying for these charging stations when they become available all across the various networks.
That's not a long-term study to make that kind of decision to force every citizen of California. That's the size of Canada. And you're trying to make everyone so they only buy EV vehicles. It doesn't make any sense. It's a terrible decision, and I think they need to look at it again, especially once the batteries start packing up and all those dead batteries are there in a landfill and you're going to start having some issues. Man, it's going to be a rude awakening. And not only that, you think by making it so only EV vehicles that are sold in California, who's going to buy the used vehicles that are out of warranty? It's going to be all the lower income people. It's not going to be people like me that are going to be stuck holding the bag. It's going to be them. This whole thing hasn't been thought out, and if I lived in California, I'd be really pissed. If I were a governor and I was making policy that would require my whole state, like California, by 2035 to only buy electric vehicles, what I would first do is I would do a longer term study. And part of that longer term study is obviously to wait and not make that decision based on the fact that cars have only been sold in that state for about 10, maybe 12 years. That's not a long term study. The other thing that I would do...
Yeah, because the thing is, it is going to take some manufacturers a considerably longer time to attain economies of scale in a product that is relatively new to the market, and they're still developing as they go on.
Because I would ask Tesla to pull all the reports to show what percentage of vehicles have been given estimates for a new battery. And not only to do it for that, but also to give out data, and this could be even for Transport Canada or any sort of transport authority in any country, to see how often they're changing the drivetrain units. I heard something recently from the person that I sold the vehicle, and I've seen it in online forums, that it's not uncommon for these cars to require new motors. Luckily for mine, it was covered under warranty. That was the motor. But a year after my warranty expired, this is when I started getting the battery problems. And the bigger problem is to jump to these conclusions to say, hey, we're only going to sell EV vehicles without having all the data. I'm surprised they haven't pulled that data from Tesla, given the fact that they are the predominantly major player today, and they have that information. They're a tech company.
I also spoke about this earlier in another video that I entitled Blood Batteries, and it actually shows you exactly how children under the age of 12, some of them have also been killed trying to extract the minerals needed to manufacture these batteries. One can say it's the story of blood diamonds just recycling itself. The more things change, the more they remain the same.
We're only going to sell EV vehicles without having all the data. I'm surprised they haven't pulled that data from Tesla, given the fact that they are the predominantly major player today, and they have that information. They're a tech company. They're able to pull that info off easily and be able to tell you, hey, this is how many batteries we've replaced, this is how many motors we've repaired, and how many of those batteries make it to landfills because they can't be recycled. So something to think about.
Well, there are companies now being set up to recycle these batteries, and if they were in particular countries across the world, they will definitely find a way to utilize some of the cells in the batteries and the cars itself, because the technology is currently evolving. So I'm sure there are industries out there that will find more use for some of these items in the car itself. However, it's not only to focus on the batteries, because these EVs come with so much technology in them. Tesla and all the various other EV companies are more of a software company than anything else. So in essence, the trial and error still continues. There are so many different aspects within this big pot, storing as we go along: parts, service issues, warranty problems, manufacturers thinking about cutting out the middleman, which is a dealership, and go directly online. What they're trying to do is reverse a 100-year proven strategy that has worked so far. The problem is not the dealership itself. However, the problem lies within the leadership of these various dealerships, because at the end of the day, you're dealing with humans and the various personalities that they have. And as usual, we have to contend with the person or their ego. Let's start the conversation below. Remember to grab a copy of my ebook, The Parts Manager Guide. Please smash that like button on your way out. It will only take you 1.5 seconds to do so. Until next time.